Alright, g'day there, Richard MUSGRAVE-EVANS here again and welcome back. Now today I'm back down on the river, got a beautiful big gum tree subject, big canvas, tons of oil paint, and I'm going to be using my trusty palette knives. Alright, so I'm painting on a white surface. Sometimes you see me paint on the clear prime Belgian linen, so it's got a kind of earthy tone. Today though I've decided just to go for the pure white canvas, just mix it up a bit, and I've already drawn a few lines in. I was just trying to warm up and get myself going. It's a fairly complicated subject, this one, so thought I'd put a few marks in just to get me started, and now we're ready to go. Alright, let's start. Need a bit more red. What am I doing here? Hang on. Just get a little bit of alizarin crimson. Got buckets of the other colours, but the red, I don't have too much on there. I'll just go a bit more. There we go. That one's in a tube. Some of these ones, like that one, was in a tin, big buckets of tins of paint. It's a great way, if you're painting this sort of style, it's a great way to be able to use heaps of paint, and you can also put the wet paint back in the tin if you haven't messed it up, haven't spoiled it too much. Alright, what are we doing? Let's just I'll go for the red and a bit of burnt sienna. That's alizarin crimson and burnt sienna. A little bit of cobalt blue, the opposite on the colour wheel, will really darken it off. Just going to put some of these darks in right now. There. Great days, a fair bit of wind around, but because I've got this set up, this trailer, absolutely fantastic. It keeps you right out of the wind. What are we here? You can paint a big picture like this, it doesn't bounce around. If you saw me painting on the coast the other day on my small easel, you would have seen the wind was shaking it around. Well, with this, you can actually, it's very solid, of course, and the wind's coming from behind me a bit anyway, so there's just no fear of getting, it's much more like being in the studio at home, but you've got the benefit of being out here and seeing all the colours. Now just put those darks in. Now, right. That's probably about the darkest darks already done. I'll just stand back and have a quick look at that. Okay, that's all very well and good. Now, I might just lighten up a bit. I might go a little bit of, what do we got, red and green. A little bit of magenta maybe. Just going to have to lighten that a tad with a little bit of white. Painting a few shadows down in the distance there. Maybe a bit more yellow ochre to warm them up a bit. Always a lovely day down here. It's fairly arid country here where I am. You've got the beautiful river, of course, but because of the aridness, you get a lot of sunny days, which makes it great for painting on location and getting fairly consistent weather. Might go some yellow ochre and burnt sienna. I'm going to put some of these reflections from underneath here. There's a slight bit of green from the water itself reflecting back up on the underside, so I'm going to I'll just frost that off a bit. I'm going to purposely play up on that because it's a nice colour down this way. Yeah, something along those lines now. Also a bit of blue and magenta, just changing the shadow. I'm still putting shadow tones in at the moment, so I'm doing a mixture of warm and cool. Yellow ochre and burnt sienna. Lighten that up a bit, lighten the tonal value with a bit more white with the burnt sienna. going to be going that way. Tiny bit of cad orange and yellow ochre on the underside here, where it's really reflecting up nicely. Same goes for here, this branch. Branch is going every which way here, we just got to work it out. There's one of those breezes coming in now, but as you can see it's not really a problem. That can be there. Yeah, she's really coming in now, that wind. There we go. Change tacks, I go for a bit of the cobalt blue and white. There's some beautiful shadows of the tree reflecting into the, well, the tree casting a shadow on the water. So I'll just put them in as quite blue at the moment. I'll back them off later a little, but they are quite blue, so I'll stick some in like that. Go. Right. It's all happening. Now I'm going to go for some white, a bit of yellow ochre and cobalt blue. Mixing up a lovely sky colour, bit of yellow ochre again. This will be the lower sky. Mix, 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 mix. What do we got there? A bit more yellow ochre. That's lovely stuff, alright. That's about right. Just looking at how much sky, there's not a lot of, there's going to be a lot of foliage, so there's a bit of sky in that colour and tonal value. It's the dark there, right, I see it, I've got you. I see where we are. That was in there. Alright. Might go up a layer, I'll just go a bit darker, a bit more blue. And less of the yellow ochre, so it's a cleaner blue. Mix that one up. There. There. The underside of that reflection there. And there. Great. A little bit higher. I'm purposely leaving bits and pieces. Like I said, there's going to be a fair bit of foliage. A fair bit of foliage as well. So, right, let's go cobalt blue. And instead of using the yellow ochres, I'll just put a tiny bit of red in. In this case, I'll use magenta as my red. As the sky gets higher, it gets slightly darker in value. And a little bit more red. It's nice and dark, that's good. Alright. Up we go. Yep. Bit up here in the top corner. Wow, that is windy today. Right, let me have a look. Okay, what I'm going to do now is go some yellow ochre, burnt sienna, bit of that sky blue thrown in. Going to mix up the colour of the water itself. Sky blue comes in handy for that. Let's have a look. It's a bit browner than that, a bit less of the blue, so we go the yellow ochre and burnt sienna. A bit more white maybe. A little bit more white. Let me just have a look, I'll just put some down. Yeah, could go a little bit richer, so a bit more chromatic saturation, so a bit more yellow ochre and burnt sienna. I can go on that. Lovely. Brush there. Block it in, block it in. Right, a bit more yellow ochre, burnt sienna, sky blue, white. Mix, 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 mix. Alright. Yeah, not too bad. I'll go with that. A bit more burnt sienna, and just going to darken it slightly with the yellow ochre and burnt sienna again. I'll actually throw a tad of red and green in that as well. Mix, mix, mix. Now just get some of those sky colours again. It's the yellow ochres and blues. There we go. A bit of white, lighten the tone. A bit more, let's go yellow ochre, blue and white. Okay, a little bit deeper, go darkers. Just putting some of these blues in closer as it gets down lower here. Darker blues. So we'll mix up another brew of blue and magenta, white, a bit more magenta to make it ever so slightly warmer in value. Okay. mix. Bring it all together. Get some hot blues through there. Lighter. A bit more yellow ochre with it. There we go, look at that, it's all starting to happen. Within reason, something's starting to happen. Been a bit stingy on the Viridian green too, so I'll put some of that on. There we go, lovely. That one's in the tube today, Viridian green, yellow ochre, burnt sienna, yellow ochre, Viridian green. Going to mix up some of those foreground grasses. A really rich colour they are too, so I'll put that in. Yeah. A bit more green and burnt sienna with it. Green and burnt sienna. Right in the foreground too, there's some beautiful reds. So I'm going to use the alizarin crimson, make a kind of pinkish colour. Some beautiful reds in that grassy stuff right at where I'm standing. I'll throw some of that in for sure. Lovely. A bit more of those reds, they're such a beautiful colour. Alright. Alright, that's all kind of working now. Yellow ochre. Oh, what am I going to do here? Hang on. Just grab my cartridge. Going to go to the cartridge for this one. So, if I can work out how to use it. Aha. Alright. Yellow ochre. Let's drop that in there. Okay. Yellow ochre, burnt sienna, Viridian green, a little bit of white to lighten it off. What are we doing? Just lightly touching, filling in some of those white areas with lovely foliage. Needs more yellow ochre. And white, a little bit of that alizarin. There's a bit of red up there in some of that foliage too. I won't waste that because that looks great. Put that on, like that. Now if I want to knock some back further away, I might just go a little bit of this sky blue magenta here. Half mix that with some of these. Takes it back to more of a slightly greyed version for over here. A little bit more, a bit of Viridian green. Viridian green. Yeah. burnt siennas. Go in now with that. That'll be up there. Let's see what we've got, eh? Alright, well there's a fair bit of good stuff going on there. There's a lot of blocking, but now the tree is really standing out as just a white blob, so I think it's time to put a bit of work into that one. Trunk's kind of a grey brown. Go burnt siennas, yep, some of that sky blue, white, burnt sienna, blue to grey it. It's a bit more yellow ochre dominant. I'll go there like that. Like that. The shadows have moved around a bit. There's a darker tone. Hang on. Bit of a darker tone right here. Yeah. Got to work out where everything goes. Like I was saying earlier, there's quite a few complicated things going on here with the branches. That is that nice one right there. Bit of cad orange with the yellow ochre and a bit of white. I just want to get some nice reflected light under here. Then that can be darker under there. Right. Magenta, blue, burnt sienna, mixing up a lighter grey tone here, so I've got white, magenta, blue and brown, just making a basic sort of grey. There's a little bit more yellow ochre dominant grey. That's the benefit of working on site. I can see that even though it's a grey colour, it's kind of a yellowy grey at the same time because it's got the colour of the sunlight. Got to work out how big to make this trunk. Yeah. That one can be there, and this one can be here. Back in there. Now what I'll do is I'll bring the underside shadow up into it. Bit more of that underside shadow tone. Where are you there? Just in here. Nice. Darken it off a little bit so it's a bit more obvious. Burnt sienna, yellow ochre. Alright. Yellow ochre and white. Obviously a lot more white and a lot less yellow ochre, but there's a bit of that colour involved, so stick that in. Good variety there. Bit of burnt sienna with that. Up here, white. What a beautiful day. A bit of red thrown in. There's some nice red type of things happening there. Alright, that's looking alright. Branches going everywhere. All right. Clean that knife off a bit. There we go, that's a bit better. Stuff going this way and stuff going that way. It's all getting there, slowly but surely. Goes there, right? If that's the case, then this will go here. I know I said it before, but that wind, tell you what, if I didn't have this trailer set up, I'd be getting blown like you would not believe. Just working on refinement. Softening bits here and there. Pretty and green, white. Just keep moving around and softening things. Working on reflections, etc. Don't stop me now, I'm having such a good time. I'm having a ball, don't stop me now if you wanna have a good time. Just give me a call, don't stop me now. I don't wanna stop at all. Put this one down so it's not in the way. That wind and those clouds are really starting to come in. That's the whole thing about plein air painting. It's constantly changing, isn't it? Let's just go for some more cobalt blue, white. Yeah, just a twang of yellow ochre in that. So it matches the previous colours. Let's have a look. What do we got? Just starting to reel it in a little bit more. Just bits here and there, really refined thin marks. Just to start giving the illusion that something's starting to reel in a bit more finished, if you like. Now pull that up, taking paint off. Taking a bit of paint off there. Get some white. Just adds a little bit of colour around here and there. A few branches popping around. Bit of detail on these foreground. There's a little bit of interesting things going on here. Knife on edge. Just looks great, doesn't it? Look at that. Okay, well here we are back home in the studio. Now I've got the painting out of the box, and as you saw it became a little bit wild there to finish it off, and I'd pretty much got everything in. All the basic major colours and tones were in, and so now what I've done is I've just pulled it out of the box once I'm back home, had a bit of a look. I have just stuck a little bit of a mark here and there, just bring up a bit more light out of the trunk here. Bit more of character on the dead limb here. I wanted to make a real contrast between the life and the light in the living part of the tree, and the fact that this is a dead branch, so it's nice and grey. And I picked out the sharp edge of where it's broken and fallen over. But at the same time, the contrast of this painting in a lot of ways can be between the youthfulness, almost youthfulness of the tree itself, the living section of the tree, and then the kind of dry, scraggly part of the tree that's not living. Alright, now on the whole, pretty much think I've got what I want. I've got a nice bit of reflected light, maybe added just a little bit more light underneath, because you get the light from the water itself, bouncing off the water and coming back up, and it leaves lovely patterns on the underside, the shadow sides of the tree. Did a bit of that. Pulled out a slight bit more detail maybe in the foreground now that it's just with a palette knife. Just flick a few bits around here and there just to give the feeling of the grasses and that were in the floodwater. On the whole, not too bad. So what I reckon we should do is just get the camera off now, come in and have a closer look. All right, thank you.